Hi, and welcome to the Can Do MS webinar series. We're so excited to have you on tonight. Tonight's topic is adaptations for staying active and involved. Can Do MS delivers health and wellness education programs to help families with MS thrive. Please visit the Can Do MS website, can-do-ms.org, to learn more about Can Do's online and nationwide programs. The mission of the National MS Society is to help people affected by MS live their best lives as they stop MS in its tracks, restore what has been lost, and end MS forever. You can explore other society programs, services, and connection opportunities at nationalmssociety.org. We will save about 20 minutes at the end of the webinar for questions and answers. If you have a question during the presentation, you can type it in to the question chat box found in your control panel. The presentation is also being recorded and will be archived on the Can Do MS website. You can download a copy of tonight's presentation, associated library article, and other additional resources from your control panel. You will also be able to access these resources in a follow-up email that we will send out tomorrow. Stephanie is an occupational therapist who graduated from Elizabethtown College in 2009. She joined Can Do MS in 2015 after being invited by one of our participants to observe a program. Little did she know that she was also being observed herself, and later was invited to join the Can Do team. Stephanie currently lives in Colorado, where she practices home health occupational therapy. Thanks for being here tonight, Steph.
Thank you.
And Sue Kushner is our other speaker this evening. She's a physical therapist who graduated from the University of Pittsburgh undergrad and then did PT school at Columbia University. She's currently finishing her PhD in exercise physiology. Sue has been with the Can Do MS program for 31 years now. She has been on the faculty at Slippery Rock for 29 years in the Graduate School of Physical Therapy, and she works clinically doing home care PT. Sue has also volunteered with the National MS Society for 32 years. Welcome, Sue.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so glad you guys are both here this evening. And now I'd like to pass the presentation off to Sue so she can introduce our learning objectives. Again, thank you both for being here tonight.
Oh, thanks for having us, Krista. And
Thank you.
thank you to Can Do. It is near and dear to my heart for many, many decades. Formerly the Jimmy Hugas Center, and it's evolved in name and in program content too. So I am thrilled to be here and really thrilled to be associated with Can Do MS for such a long time. So happy holidays to everybody out there. Happy December. Let's bring this year to a very positive conclusion. I think everyone would agree with that. So our goal tonight is to thread through and bring together topics that have been discussed on Can Do all year long. So we are trying to help you make adaptations and changes that you can empower yourself with, not only towards the end of the year and through this difficult year that it has been, but also thinking forward into the new year. How can you make these changes? What types of adaptations are you and your loved ones, your support partners, able to make? So in our learning objectives, you will see that we want to help you manage physical and cognitive symptoms, focusing on solutions for these barriers and tackling some of the symptoms that are common with MS, and most of you know they are far and wide, and then highlight some adaptations and strategies that will help you stay active in the life that you would like to lead. So a mindset in accepting the change is keep in your mind that it does not have to be a drastic change from, December 31st to January 1st or whenever you decide to make the changes. 180 switches do not usually work successfully. Think about incremental changes of how important it is to keep these changes and your goals very, very realistic and attainable. And we'll talk about SMART goals in a few minutes. Get help from loved ones. Get help from your support partners, from people inside and outside of your home. Help from the National MS Society, help from your healthcare professionals, help from videos and webinars that you can tune into, such as this one. Have somebody help to hold you accountable. Aren't we all much more successful when we are held accountable or having your feet held to the fire? Sometimes that works too. So enjoy the challenges, enjoy the journey, because this disease of MS and life, they are journeys that you've got to jump on and ride the ride. And then pause to look back at where you have been, how far you have come, be it daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever works for you. But do stop and think, I couldn't do this before. Or this is the first season that I ever tried really being outside because I couldn't go to the gym. So really, reflect back from time to time. I mentioned briefly SMART goals that can do and many people use in many aspects of life. They're very easy to remember if you remember the word SMART, because you want to be smart about your goals. And you will see that they are specific, not, I want to get in better shape. How do you want to get in better shape? Aerobically, balance, all of the above. Are they measurable? Things should be measurable to be achievable. Are they attainable? I could say that I would like to hike the Appalachian Trail. I can't do that. I don't have the time. I probably am not in good enough shape to do that. So, a few mile walk every day and a little longer hiking on the weekends is helpful. The other one, let's see, I was at R is, the slide switched on me, so I am sorry.
Relevant. That's okay.
Thank you. Relevant. I do know these off by heart, but except when I am under the gun. Are they relevant? Again, it's in the category of attainable and measurable and kind of blends everything. Time-based. Again, don't just say, in 2021, I want to do this, that, and the other thing. How about in the spring, I want to do this. In the summer, I'd like to be able to do that. I'd like to be able to be down 10 pounds, etc. So keep in mind the SMART goals and what each of them stand for. So here's an example of a SMART goal for a month. Twice a week, I will go to water aerobics for the 30-minute classes on weeks that I'm able to and that I feel well enough to go. When I feel stiff, I'll stretch for 10 minutes. When I'm watching a football game, when I'm watching some Christmas shows or the Hallmark Channel, 10 minutes. It does not take that much out of your day. Instead of a candy bar, I will try 9 times out of 10 to eat some fruit instead. And then on the weekends, say I will encourage my support partner to engage in something with me for at least 1 hour, be it an activity, an exercise activity, something that we both like to do. And then another example that I like to tell patients about, when you are at a red light, you will stop and do Kegel exercises where you kind of squeeze, like as if you were going to the bathroom. You want to stop the stream of urine flowing. Stop, hold that a few times at a red light, and then put the gas on. So those are some very, very simple SMART goals. And then go ahead and write down a few goals for yourself tonight while we are talking. At this webinar, you can write your goals for, if I want to do this, when I will do that, or I will for sure do such and such starting tomorrow, starting tonight if you wish. Why wait till the new year? So again, keep the SMART goals in mind with any goal that you set for yourself, be it physical, be it cognitive, and go from there.
So as Sue said, we're kind of trying to wrap up and put together all the threads that we've had this year, all the different webinars that we've done and programs that we've offered. So these are some of the ones that we've gone over this year so far. We went over sensory components, motor components, fatigue and sleep, relationships and intimacy, cognitive wellness, bowel and bladder, and pain. All of these have been completed throughout the year in webinars. We're going to just touch base a little bit on each topic, but if you find one of those really resonates with you or really kind of touches home, I encourage you to look back at those webinars throughout the year and try and catch up with one of those archived webinars so you can get more in-depth in each of those. We are doing all of them, so we don't have time to give a huge in-depth amount, but we're going to squeeze in a little bit of everything today. And while we talk about each of those, we're going to try and focus on these areas. So we have activities of daily living, or we'll call them ADLs throughout the day. That's kind of the short abbreviation, but sometimes it can be confusing. Leisure and physical activity, so being active in that category. And then accessing the environment. So those are our main 3 areas we focused on throughout this program. All right, Sue.
So when we talk about sensory components, we all know that heat is a huge enemy of persons with multiple sclerosis. You know the symptoms that occur with excess heating, the fatigue, the hardly being able to move limbs. It's just an overwhelming fatigue that we talk about later also. So heat is an enemy. And what are some of the strategies that have been recommended to you in the past? Some cooling devices, using a small or large fan when you are working out. Think about the weather and the climate that you are living in, be it year-round or seasonally. You know, you may be a snowbird and go somewhere warm in the winter. But sometimes the cooler climates are going to be better for you to work out in, and this time of year might be the best time of year for you to go outside and walk. You have to be careful of ice and snow depending on where you live. Frozen snacks, staying hydrated. We cannot speak enough about that, not only for your core body temperature, but for preventing urinary tract infections and causing bladder problems. So you want things also that keep your core body temperature lowered throughout the day. Aquatic programs are one of the best activities for that. A lot of aquatic facilities are still open. Sometimes you may not be able to shower there. You may have to go in, just to the locker room and change and leave, depending on the COVID restrictions. But cool water, aquatic activities are fantastic for lowering your body temperature all day. Another area that we concentrate on with folks with MS in the sensory component arena is proprioception and kinesthetic awareness. This is basically knowing where your body parts are in space without looking at them, without tapping them on the ground or the desk and feeling where they are. Your body should just know where your feet are stepping. With MS, that's not always the case. You may have some decreased sensation. You may have some vibratory sensation. It may result in decreased balance, which we all know, falls can just be very, very bad and snowball into even worse things. So the clumsiness may occur with the decreased proprioception. Some strategies are first to properly identify why you have the decreased sensation. And that is up to you seeing the physician, the occupational therapist, the physical therapist. We can help you identify what is the problem, why you are having it, and go from there in devising a program specifically for you. And as mentioned before, that can include balance activities, using visual input, and certainly focusing on one task at a time. Most of us are just going crazy all the time. trying to do too many things at one time. Yes, you probably can walk and chew gum at the same time, but why don't you just try and do one or the other at a time? Do not always be on your phone when you're walking. Do not always be, talking to somebody when you are trying to get out of the car. Just say, hang on, let me think about where my feet are going. Get out, grab your walker, your crutches, and then continue on. So there's no great harm in doing one thing at a time.
Yeah, Sue, and I agree. That's another area that I see is also a challenge in the shower. Some people are in such a rush to move around and turn and close their eyes and wash their hair that their footing kind of changes a little. So taking your time in the shower also in that kind of same aspect. As far as vision, that's another area of a sensory component that a lot of people with MS struggle with. Sometimes people experience double vision, blurred vision, or feeling of things moving. They might have a nystagmus where their eyes are beating, and it might make you feel like dizzy or the environment's moving around you. What's concerning about that is it can often result in falls, or you could be bumping into things. You might not notice something on the side of your head and bump your head on something, which could also cause more issues. So what we encourage is to do vision screenings and reaching out to a neuro-ophthalmologist for an assessment possibly. That's a good way to start with things. I am working on getting an access to a vision screening tool that I might try to share here. We'll work on that being available to you guys. But also just remembering that your regular eye doctor isn't specialized in the type of vision that you might be struggling with always. If you're having that blurred vision, double vision, moving environment, a neuro-ophthalmologist is a great person to reach out to because they focus more on the function of the eye movement, not just acuity. Using large fonts on your computer can help reduce the strain on your eyes, make it a little easier and less fatiguing for you visually. You can also use audiobooks. So that's another option if you enjoy reading and that's your leisure activity. Maybe audiobooks are a better way to go to decrease the strain on you and to compensate for that challenge that you're having. Also, you can use high contrast on your electronics. So if you go into computers or tablets or phones, all of them have some type of high contrast setting. And the nice thing is all of our devices these days have a simple search tool somewhere on them to find access. And if you type in high contrast, you should be able to find that. Also, another tool that I do recommend for people, especially for those who are working on computers all day long from home or even at work, to remember the 20-20-20 rule. So that's every 20 minutes, take a 20-second break and look 20 feet away. When you're looking close at the computer, your eyes are converging together, and that's work. Those are muscles holding your eyes together. When you look farther away, they relax a little bit. So just like as if you were standing for 2 hours straight, you would need to take a break from that. So those are just some examples of things you could do to help with your vision.
Like that. So I do want to mention a couple words about pain related to MS. It used to be totally ignored, like it just didn't even exist unless it was a secondary problem, like an orthopedic problem. But probably 18 or more years ago, I was on a task force where we tried to get a brochure or a bulletin together through the National MS Society. At that point, we didn't even have enough information from all over the country to put a short bulletin together. Now, since then, it has been proven that pain can be associated with MS. And again, I don't mean just the structural pain or orthopedic pain from, say you have weakness on the right side in your hip flexors and you're always having to swing your hip out to clear that leg. Of course, you may get some orthopedic problems over time with that, but there are also definitely some neurological problems that can cause pain related to MS. Spasticity can be very painful, and anybody who deals with spasticity, anything from a nighttime Charlie horse to spasticity that nags at you all day, every day, that can become very, very painful, very fatiguing. If you have a limb that really is not working much at all, you may get pain just from immobility. Think about, if you ever had a broken arm or know somebody with a stroke and they're not able to use that limb. Well, when they do try and move it passively or somebody moves it for them, there can be a lot of pain associated with that. And then also the neurological pain I had mentioned before, like vibration, some weird sensations on the bottom of the feet, and they can all be very, very negative in the way that they're going to affect how you move. So some strategies, again, might be medication, and we are not able to prescribe as therapists other than exercise. So the medication, you would be talking to your physician, PA, nurse practitioner, etc. But certainly exercise and stretching can help alleviate some pain. When we regularly stretch areas that have been shortened over a long period of time, you can slowly but surely get some relief as you're able to elongate that muscle or those muscles. We can help you work on posture and proper positioning. If your wheelchair is improperly fitted or your orthotic devices are no longer fitting properly for you, they can cause a lot of pain. They can really wreak havoc with your body. So be aware of assistive devices being checked from time to time, including your wheelchair, are your cane, crutches, walker at the proper heights. And then also think about techniques such as yoga and meditation along with relaxation techniques. They can be extremely helpful for quieting the mind, settling the mind, focusing on an area of discomfort and working on alleviating it. And again, these are not things that are going to do a 180 change for you overnight. They do take time. They do take consistent practice for any of these activities to assist you.
So another area that I'm looking at, again, as the OT, I like to look at those activities of daily living, ADLs. So one example of a way to manage some pain while cooking might be to sit while cooking, or while prepping at least. If you can bring all of the cucumbers over to the table and sit down to prep, it might reduce a little bit of your low back pain or a little bit of the pain in your knees or the bottom of your feet or something like that. Also, using larger handle utensils. So they make forks and knives and all kinds of adapted utensils that have a wider handle. So having a little bit wider of a handle actually reduces the strain on the joints and protects that joint a little bit. So that's actually going to reduce a little bit of the pain while you're chopping or even while you're cutting up your own foods to eat the meal or with your fork and your spoon, things like that. Also, another thing to think about is if you have a lot of nerve pain and sensory overload with that pain in different areas of your body, say some people get the MS hug and it's very uncomfortable around the waist, consider the type of clothing that you're wearing. Is that article of clothing tight around your waist also, and it's adding that extra discomfort? Is the bra that you're wearing irritating your upper shoulders? The socks that you have, are they too tight around the calf? Those are things that can increase some nerve pain activity and maybe make more pain in other areas more frustrating as well. Also, when considering leisure activities, it breaks my heart sometimes that people just stop engaging in activities because of pain. And then, not engaging in a leisure activity or not having something meaningful to you that you can engage in can often lead to mood changes and depression. So if that pain causes you to decrease your engagement in leisure things, then we have other issues coming on. So I encourage people to consider low impact leisure activities. And on this picture here, you can see this is actually adapted bocce ball. So bocce ball alone is pretty low impact, I hope, if anybody's running into each other. That's the weirdest version of bocce ball ever. But some people just do it seated. You can use a chair and you can sit and toss a bocce ball. And then you can see this gentleman here. He has a very limited range of motion and limited ability. And he is able to just put the ball onto this little ramp. And once he sets it on, he can even have someone set it for him. His job is to determine where he wants it turned, and they can turn it for him. And the rules in this bocce ball system, this is actually the Paralympics rules, is that he just has to be the last one to touch the ball before it rolls off. And this is actually a picture of a program that I engaged in Virginia, and people love it. I know when I heard bocce ball, I was like, oh gosh, old people do that. Like I didn't imagine it'd be so fun. It was actually a lot of fun. So then there's other things you could do. You can join walking groups, and I know a lot of places have silver sneakers groups if walking is still a good activity for you. Maybe painting is something you like. And Sue mentioned earlier aquatics. That's a great low impact activity. I do encourage you to find out though, before you go for your aquatics, to find out if the pool is heated. Sometimes heated pools, or sometimes facilities have heated pools, which might make things a little bit harder for you. So keep in mind to check into that. And maybe you like riding a bike and your balance and it's just a little off, or your knee is just hurting a little too much, or you know, it's just not right for you, but maybe you can look at arm bikes instead, and that might be something that works a little better for you. Oh, and I did want to mention that there is a program called the Challenged Athletes Foundation, and they do assist in funding people for adapted sports equipment, if that is something anybody's interested in. Oops. All right, motor components. So we know with MS that a lot of people struggle with coordination, you know, use of their hands, use of their legs, their trunk weakness, all those different areas, and those can impact your activities of daily living as well. So here's some different ideas or tools that you could look into if you're noticing this area is a challenge for you. So with cooking, you can use things like food processors to eliminate how much you have to chop and prep. Or we talked about those adapted kitchen knives. There's also adapted cutting boards that will hold items for you if you can't use one hand to hold it. Dressing is another area to focus on. There are button hooks you can see in this top picture on the right here. It's a little gadget that goes in and pulls the button through the hole for you to reduce a little bit of the strain. The sock aids are a gadget that you can use to help put your socks on if you're having trouble bending over to reach down to your feet. It can actually be used to put your feet on without bending. Bathing, you can use long handle sponges again if bending is a challenge for you. Shower chairs, I love recommending shower chairs. If it's one of my favorite tools to recommend, that's one of them, because a lot of people keep saying, I don't need a shower chair and I don't want to look disabled. I can stand in the shower. And maybe you can, and that's true. However, if you sit in a shower chair, you might be a little bit safer. A lot of times people don't get a shower chair until their second or third fall in a shower, and I just hope we don't get 2 or 3 falls. Toileting is another area that we can work on some motor assistance, using bidets actually. Some people lose range of motion in their shoulders, or they might lose the function of their hands being able to control the toilet paper. So using a bidet to clean yourself might help with you managing that movement. There's catheter inserters, so there's little gadgets that can attach to your hand, and they come out from the side and they have a clip, and they can be used to help hold the catheter tubing if you don't have that refined pinch with your fingertips. We also have raised toilet seats, which are going to reduce the low squat that you have to go into, which sometimes can also cause knee or low back pain. Tub transfer benches, those are a bench that goes from the outside into the tub and back, and you sit on it and then you slide into the tub. So if stepping over the tub is painful and putting all the weight onto one leg is a little too much, that's a great tool for getting in and out. Grab bars are always great for balance and safety with motor difficulties. And there's a tool called a stand pivot disc. If transferring in and out of bed is a challenge for you, somebody can help you transfer using a stand pivot disc, or a slide board, which you can see here on the wheelchair going over to the toilet, where you slide it under you and you scoot over to the toilet. So these are a lot of cool tools, but also remember to consider modifying your technique. One thing that I love, and it has been a great tool for some people, is instead of putting one arm in your jacket and then trying to get that other arm and find that hole and struggling there, some people will put the jacket on their lap upside down, put both hands in, and then flip it over their head. And it's a lot easier. And that's a simple way to modify something and save a lot of stress when that motor coordination is a challenge for you. So what I'd say is, if you're having a lot of challenges in these areas, check out the nearest OT with some neuro experience and see if they can help you out with figuring out what works best for you. All right, Crystal, will you slide that one over? I don't know if it froze a little bit. Oh, there it is.
So motor components. When you think about leisure and physical activity, you don't always need to talk about exercise. Exercise, to some people is a swear word. They just don't like it. They don't get the endorphins that most people get. They just do not like it. But think about, what activities do you like? Most of us like to move. We are made to move. If you love running or cycling and are not able to do those like you used to, are you able to do a treadmill? Are you able to use a stationary bike? Are you able to use a stationary bike while listening to a book on tape? Stephanie mentioned the audio books, and that's a perfect way that you don't even notice that 15, 20, or 30 minutes have gone by when you're listening to a very interesting book. I would not recommend a treadmill and trying to read. Sometimes that can be more problematic than it is helpful. But there are ways to, prop yourself on your stationary bike or the treadmill in front of the TV or Netflix, and boom, you've watched an episode of something, got your activity done, and you really hardly have even noticed. We also mentioned the aquatic activities, and as Stephanie said, you do not want to be in warm water. So avoid those swimming pools that are for arthritic programs, because you will come out like a wet noodle if you can even get yourself out of the water. So you want it to be on the cooler side. And also keep in mind that you do not need to be a swimmer. Whenever anybody says the swimming pool or pool activities, a lot of people think I'm not a good swimmer, or worse yet, I've never even learned how to swim. There are pool activities that are so useful. You can join a class or just go in and walk in the shallow end, walk sideways, walk backwards and forwards, big long strides using your arms and legs, rotating the trunk. You can do marching in place. There are so many different types of arm and leg exercises you can do with the water up to your waist or your chest. You can use little floaty devices on your arms and legs to give you resistance. You can use a kickboard. You can use a jogging vest in deeper water. You can use those couple dollar noodles that you see kids play with. You can wrap those under your armpits and kick around the pool. Again, even if you are not a good swimmer, for 20, 30 minutes at a time. I know Stephanie talks about passing out water or being involved in a running race that you maybe used to run. You're not able to do that. You still want to see all your peeps that you love to see. So work the registration table, give out the t-shirts, be part of the cheering squad, anything like that to keep yourself involved and motivate others. Then when we talk about accessing the environment, think what you can do in your area. This has never been more pertinent and meaningful than in the last 9 months because of COVID. People may or may not still be going to gyms. So what can you do outside of your home? I mean, literally in the backyard, in a park. Things you need to look around and find areas and things to do that maybe you just overlooked for years. You went from work to the gym, home. So what can you do in your backyard? I went to a doctor's appointment recently by a park, and there was a group of people at an outdoor pavilion, and they had set up some heavy bands wrapped around the pillars, and then they were telling me that, oh yeah, so and so brings these weights twice a week, I bring the heavier ones. We socially distance. We meet here at 9 o'clock in the morning 3 times a week, and we get our 40-minute workout done. So 6 of these people really devised a nice little way to adapt during COVID, and they said they've made really nice friendships through that. The National MS Society is fabulous for resources also. They may sponsor pool activities in your area, aquatic classes. They may sponsor some balance programs. They may have some videotapes or a videotape library, a CD library that you can tune into. So you really have to get creative, but also engage other people to help you in these areas. And I believe Stephanie might have a few additions. I will defer to her.
Yeah, so basically, Sue, you got most of it there pretty well. And I think the biggest thing that I like in this area or in this section here is really finding a way to stay engaged, even if it has to be differently. So the idea of engaging in those runs at registration tables or t-shirt tables instead of being able to run through them, or maybe just walking a portion of the run instead of running through it. Another cool thing I thought I'd mention is here in Colorado, we have a program where they take an action track chair, which is basically like the tank version of a wheelchair, and you can ride it through the trails in one of our state parks. So that's actually a really cool program and something you can look at in some of your other areas might have them as well. All right, Sue.
Yes, sorry. Fatigue and sleep. I don't think I'm telling anybody out there anything new that fatigue is the #1 complaint of persons with MS. So much so that a special word was created for fatigue related to MS called lassitude, described very wisely as just overwhelming fatigue. People will describe it as to me as, you know, your most exercise-filled, fresh air, ocean, whatever type of day on steroids times 100. And a lot of people get the overwhelming fatigue in the late afternoon, and that's when a lot of people really need to ramp up their productivity, either at work, certainly in your home life, depending on what your home life looks like, and that's when you're fading. So these things are really difficult to deal with when you have irregular sleep patterns. So the fatigue and interrupted sleep, lack of excellent sleep, can affect all aspects of your life. Certainly physical, as I have mentioned, can certainly affect your attitude and your ability to stay motivated. So we like to encourage people to get help in the arena of sleep, be it medications, be it proper diet, keeping a bedroom cool, keeping the TV and technology out of the bedroom, or eliminating it for the last hour before you try and fall asleep. Meditation tapes, sometimes something like white noise machines or very quiet classical music, something just instrumental, can also really assist people in getting to sleep and staying asleep. Please do not underestimate the assistance of the CPAP machines. If you find out, if your partner tells you that, you know, you snore, or you yourself will say, I get up 20 times a night and 5 or 6 of them I have to go to the bathroom, chances are you may have some portion of sleep apnea, and that definitely, very, very importantly, needs to be addressed, because once you can get that aspect of your sleep patterns corrected, you will find that you are sleeping so much better. And a lot of people just ignore it or don't realize that there is so much help available, and that, gosh, I've been living a very subpar life, very subpar existence because of my lack of good sleep. And then getting adequate amounts of sleep. Some people may buzz all day on 5 hours. Some people may need 8 to 9 hours. It really depends on your body. Certainly different times of the year may matter too. You know, it's 8 o'clock and I'm on East Coast time. I'm usually curled into the couch at 8 or 8:15 and kind of winding down. In the summer, I'm still outside doing something, even if it's reading outside or walking. But so listen to your biorhythms too. You know, in different times of the year, different months really make they cause changes in how we will sleep. and get help as needed, medication, meditation, therapy, etc.
So someone once told me, actually the participant who brought me to the first Can Do program I was engaged in told me this once. MS gives him, or anyone, $1 a day. And he has to figure out how to budget spending that $1. And that dollar is representing his energy. So how are you going to spend every penny in that dollar of your day? We can also, take money from tomorrow, but that leaves us with less for tomorrow. Or we can save money for tomorrow. So if we know something's going to be more challenging, maybe you have a doctor's appointment and you know it's a 2 hours drive to your neurologist. So maybe you'll take it easy the day before. So I want you to think about that dollar that MS is giving you. That's how much energy you have. And will you be able to figure out how to spend it and budget it? So here's some tips to help you with that budgeting and spending. First, if you can use communication to educate the others about your fatigue, about that lassitude, really educate them so that they can understand why you might need a rest break, why you might need to take an easier day, or why you might say, you know what, yesterday I did great and I was able to do all those activities, but today now I'm really tired. I'm going to have to skip on some of those. Also, pacing your activities. So trying not to fill your entire day with 6 doctor's appointments, running to the post office, dropping the kids off at school, maybe soccer camp, and all those different things. Try to, pace yourself throughout the day. Ask for assistance if you need. If somebody can maybe be the chauffeur for the kids that day, because you have several doctor's appointments and you're going to be more tired. Also, modifying your sleep environment. And Sue had already mentioned some of this, but when you're trying to sleep, making sure that the temperature in your room is good. Between 62 and 67 degrees is what's recommended for sleeping. Also consider your bedding. Flannel sheets can get really hot. Some people like more the microfiber and some like a silk sheet that stays cool. They also have cooling gel pads for the beds and gel pillows that stay cool. So those are some things to also consider. Also, maybe you like white noise. I'm a big fan of white noise. There's at least 2 fans going on in my room at all times, but that might help blur out some of the background sounds that wake you up. And also, it's very important to limit the amount of light coming into your room. Turning off electronics, just like Sue said, in preferably 2 hours before bed. Having little night lights turned off, closing off windows with darkened curtains. Those are also going to help you sleep a little bit better. And then positioning. If you're uncomfortable in bed, finding the right pillow for you, maybe the right mattress. Maybe you need extra pillows to support a shoulder or to support your legs under your knees so your legs aren't completely flat, to take a little strain off of your back. So those are some areas to think about when you're sleeping at night and how to make yourself a little more comfortable. Really focus on that sleep hygiene, having good routines and patterns and going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time and turning off those electronics early, or using red light filters or the blue light filters on your electronics as well. All right, so sex is an activity of daily living. We may not do it every day. Some people want it every day, maybe not everybody, but it is an activity of daily living. So it is an area where an occupational therapist can help you out. Physical connection is important in romantic relationships. So, if sex is a challenge for you physically because of pain or because of, vision and you're getting dizzy or, several different areas, the sensations are uncomfortable, talk to your occupational therapist about it. You could talk to psychologists about it, physical therapists, your neurologist, your nurse practitioner. It's important to talk about sex with people in your bubble who are helping you through this. And a lot of people are very uncomfortable talking about it, but we're used to it, so don't be worried about how we're going to feel. We're used to talking about it. But one thing to consider is positioning during sex, using pillows to support you if you need to. There's also wedges. You could use wedges. If laying flat on your back is uncomfortable, maybe a wedge helps you sit up a little bit, or maybe it's a support for your legs. So consider different tools or gadgets you can do to make sex more comfortable if it is uncomfortable. Spasticity management is another issue. A lot of times with all the activity going on during sex, spasticity can kick in and then your legs can maybe adduct and they close together, or you might get a cramp and your leg straightens out, or you might find like one of your arms tightening up. So managing that spasticity with maybe medication, staying hydrated, stretching. Again, discuss this with your professionals to determine what is the cause. And Sue mentioned that earlier. Find out what the cause is so you can address it the correct way. Leisure and physical activities. So finding ways to combine leisure activities, I think is really cool. So if you're thinking of a date night and maybe that's something you have to think out of the box. Maybe you're great at Scrabble, but your loved one really hates Scrabble. Maybe he's going to be there and just paint while you're doing Scrabble with a friend virtually, or maybe he's doodling, or maybe he's just sitting next to you doing happy hour, having a drink while you play Scrabble with the friends and chat. Also, I thought of a fun idea was, say that maybe your loved one loves surfing. You hate surfing, but you love photography. Maybe you could be in charge of taking the photography pictures or doing videos. And then in the end, you could make a fun video of your loved one surfing. So finding ways to combine your interests together, maybe they're not exactly the same, and maybe physically they have to be a little bit different, but you can still engage in those meaningful activities together. And most important, I think, is accepting help from friends and family. So that relationship with your friends and your family, to be able to accept that help. And a lot of times we tend to be the one to offer help and not accept help, but it feels good when your friends accept your help. So it's nice to be able to accept help from them too. And genuinely, people usually are offering because they mean it, not because they're just trying to be nice. So true. All right. So talking about cognition and cognitive changes. So with our ADLs, we have to remember to go grocery shopping. We have to remember all the things to get while we're there. Remember to take our medications. There's a lot going on. So using electronic calendars can help you keep track of what activities you need to do, what medications you need to take, reminders for appointments and all those good things. Sticky notes are great also. I like the strategy of a sticky note on my front door before I leave the house because I won't miss it. Or sometimes I'll put it on the microwave if I know in the morning I'm going to heat up my oatmeal or something. My caution to that is don't have 5,000 sticky notes because then you'll become numb to them. So making sure you only use them appropriately. Using recipes, actually following a recipe versus trying to remember what you did last time can also save a little bit of your cognitive thinking while you're working. Reuse lists for grocery shopping. So a lot of those electronic databases or electronic grocery shopping programs, you can go online, order your foods, and then the next time you go in to order, you can actually often refresh that list that you used last time. That just takes a lot of energy out of your mind to think of, oh my gosh, I needed milk and I needed butter and oh gosh, what else did I need? And that just reduces a little bit of that strain on your thinking and kind of compensates for it. They also have electronic pill dispensers, which are a great tool. You fill either a week or a month at a time, depending what it is. You might do that with your loved one there or your support partner there to help make sure everything goes in correctly. And then it will actually chime and release the current medication that you need for that moment. So that can reduce the likelihood of you missing a really important medication. And it can also reduce the amount of cognitive energy it takes to remember to do that. So cognitive in the leisure and physical activity areas. So I like to encourage people to try some name recalling techniques when you're at social gatherings. Some people don't like going to social events because they're terrible at remembering names and it makes them feel uncomfortable. So, the other day we were actually just walking down the road and the cute little lady down the road introduced herself to us and her name is Glenda, but she said, "I'm Glenda the Good Witch." So in my head, it stuck. She told me the woman next to her, her name, and I have no idea what her name is. And I didn't use the strategy, and I still don't know her name. When I was growing up, we had friends that I could never remember who was who, and there was Lori and Carol. And Lori always wore leather, and Carol had curly hair. So it was Leather Lori and Curly Carol. So just trying to find ways and tricks to remember those names. Also, activities to maintain cognition are crossword puzzles, trivia, sudokus, different activities that make you think, but also aren't going to stress you. So just be conscious that it's not something that's timed and makes you panic, but something that you can do and take your time to focus on. Reading can be a challenge. So there are a lot of e-readers. You can make them bigger if reading small print is challenging for you. Libby is a free ebook program that actually gets the ebooks from your local library. So you can go into Libby to get those free books if you sign up online. If reading is challenging alone, you can also try listening at the same time as reading. It can take some of the demand off of your cognition while you listen to the audiobook and look at it. And some people like to have that book in their hand. Physical activity can assist cognitive function. We have learned that physical activity helps improve cognition. So keeping your body active and moving is very important. So there's a nice little article here for you guys to check out and hopefully learn something new there. All right, so bowel and bladder, and this is the little catheterizing clip that, or the holder that holds the catheter for you if you don't have that fine control that we were talking about earlier. So as far as ADLs regarding bowel and bladder, scheduling bathroom breaks. I can't stress that enough, but really scheduling yourself bathroom breaks instead of waiting until the point where it's, oh, I have to go, oh, I went. So getting there before that point, planning ahead. Using adaptive equipment like bidets that we mentioned, there's something called a bottom buddy. It's a wiper aid that you can use to clean your bottom. Squatty potties to help allow bowel movements to move along a little bit better by positioning your feet a little higher when you're on the toilet. Catheterizing mirrors, you can put mirrors between your knees to be able to see a little bit better if you don't have enough sensation or dexterity. Universal cuff, like you see here on the right with the clip for control. Also, another thing to do is discuss suprapubic catheters with your doctor for energy conservation. If mobility is a severe challenge for you and getting on and off of a toilet might not be practical 4 or 5 times a day, you might try cathing, and if that's still a challenge because of maybe spasticity or fine motor control, suprapubic catheters actually enter through an opening they make in the stomach, and it takes, or in the abdomen, sorry, and it takes a lot of the strain out of being able to catheterize. In the leisure and physical activity, I do say that bowel and bladder can be affected by alcohol and caffeine. So really limiting how much alcohol and caffeine you take in at programs or events with friends and family, because you might be running to the bathroom a lot if you do take in enough of that. And also locating the bathroom with you when you get there. And it could be a family game with the little ones too, and you could just play spot the pot. The first person to find the bathroom is the winner. And it's always good to know your environment and where that bathroom is.
And then regarding bowel and bladder issues, these can be life-altering, usually in the negative manner. I cannot tell you how many patients have told me through the years that they don't like to go to the gym because of bladder problems. Dating for young people, for people any age with bowel and bladder problems, can be very, very difficult. If somebody likes to be outside and there are not porta-johns in the area, if it's not a state or federal land area, going to the bathroom is the limiting factor why they can't go out all day on a Sunday afternoon and do what they would like to do in the great outdoors. So keep in mind that bowel and bladder issues can be dealt with the correct experts. Bladder issues, there's an area of physical therapy where folks will work with you on strengthening the bladder. It is a muscle. It can be strengthening. Medications can help to decrease the spasticity related to bladder problems, but also strengthening with the Kegel exercises, seeing somebody, especially for females, there are women's health physical therapists who have absolutely changed a number of people's lives. I've had a number of testimonies from patients that said it's been life-changing when they get this help in these very delicate areas, how much improved their quality of life can be. With bowel issues, again, you want to see the appropriate healthcare professionals, but simple things such as a high-fiber diet and exercise along with proper hydration, and I don't mean coffee and alcohol, but loads and loads of water can very, very much help to regulate some of the problems in the bowel area. People like to avoid drinking a lot of water because they don't want to have to go to the bathroom often, but sometimes it will work in the reverse. You drink more and it can relax the bladder. You can do the training so that you only go every so often. Or again, if you need to reach the point where a catheter is necessary, please, please, please investigate that. So seek out the help in these very, very critical and life-altering areas.
So, we have to put a little bit in here about COVID because that is what's going on right now. So COVID adaptations. Isolation is scary. And with COVID having us separate from people and socially distance, which I don't love the socially distance. I feel socially close still virtually sometimes. But I think isolation can be scary. So how can we stay engaged? We have recommendations here for you. We have virtual games. Facebook has their own games that you can invite friends on Facebook to join with you. You can use pogo.com, also more games that you can join, Scrabble online, chess online. Those are all fun ways you can do those virtually with other people. There's also low-tech games. You don't need to be fancy. You don't have to know how to use these game systems. You can get a piece of paper with your Yahtzee information and 5 dice on each side of the screen, and you can all play like that. You can even do charades and just have a random charade, bring out your old charade deck and play whatever picture you see there, or Pictionary. You can even do that and hold up your picture or use a dry erase board. And categories is another one that's really fun. And you don't need to be technologically savvy at all for any of those. Also, another fun thing that my husband and I did once, and I love recommending this for people, is we did a paint night, but we used a YouTube video. We didn't pay $40 to go to a paint night because we couldn't afford it at the time. So we just pulled up a YouTube video. I had paint supplies and some canvases, and we just did it at home. And the nice thing is I can pause and rewind every time I missed something. They also have craft nights on the YouTube videos as well. Virtual tours are now a thing too. You can tour museums, gardens, zoos. There's so many fun things that you can tour online now to do something together. And that could be a good date night or a friend night, something active to do from your home. And then they also have virtual concerts going on lately, and those are really cool as well. So using your internet videos for physical activity is also an option. So online yoga, you can watch YouTube yoga videos, you can join yoga programs and get memberships and do the yoga online at your house. You can also follow some stretching videos to try and stretch and improve that mobility, and that might actually help you with that sleep, bowel and bladder, and all those other areas. And also there's lots of fitness classes online right now. Our world has adapted really well, and they're offering so many great things out there right now. So here's some links for you to reach out to look at what works best for you and see if you can access some of those resources.
And some key takeaways, we hope that we have integrated some of the webinars that you have listened to throughout the year on Can Do MS. If not, please go back and listen to them because they are all archived. So accept the challenges that we all deal with, be it MS, the weather, COVID, personal relationship problems, financial strains. Everybody has the challenges a little bit heightened this year, if not a lot heightened this year. Keep in mind though, this too shall pass. Think outside of the box. The box confines us, the box strangles us. So you want to start thinking a little bit freer, and just reading the periodicals, magazines, newspapers that I read online and in print daily, the creativity that has come about from average people and how their lives have improved in so many ways through COVID. It's really, really interesting to see. You read that so many people have watched the is it the Queen's Gambit with the chess playing, and how people are playing chess virtually with one another. You can't even find a chess set anymore. They are so sold out. Puzzles are hard to come by. So just think in some different ways for not only your MS diagnosis, but the situation that we are all in right now. And do not forget those SMART goals. Go back and look at them. Maybe you wrote some down tonight and think, tomorrow's hump day, tomorrow's Wednesday. Let me start with one little change that I'm going to continue through December, through the holidays, and then I'm going to expand that in the new year. So just keep on keeping on. 。 I threw this slide in because I came upon it obviously before the time change for the 48 states or so that we change our clocks in November, but I really chuckled. I'm not turning my clock back an hour on November 1st because seriously, none of us need one extra hour in 2020, but we will leave some time for Q&A. Krista's going to take over again, but we do thank you for spending this little over an hour with us, and for every hour that you do spend throughout the year with Can Do webinars and our other programming. We really hope that you find it extremely beneficial and enjoyable.
Thank you guys so much for sharing all of that wonderful information and recapping our 2020 webinar series. As a reminder for all of our participants, we will ask you to complete a survey that will pop up on your screen at the conclusion of this webinar. But first, let's go through some of your questions. This is my favorite part. I did have a follow-up question that I wanted to jump on right away. The 20-20-20 rule that you suggested, Stephanie, can you repeat that? I had a couple of people that wanted to hear that one more time.
Sure. So the rule is that every 20 minutes, you take a 20-second break from looking at your computer or your book or whatever that is, and you look 20 feet away.
Perfect.
So 20 minutes, 20 seconds, 20 feet.
Awesome. Thank you for repeating that one.
Absolutely.
And then a question for Sue. I'm a dog lover, so this is near and dear to my heart. How can I have more endurance when walking my dog?
And I have been on some conference calls with you, Krista, and I've seen your dogs in the background. Yes. You must remember who is walking who when you are out with your dog. The big ones can take you for a ride that you shouldn't be on. The little ones can trip you up when you don't need that. So when you are out with your dog, hopefully they're pretty well trained by that point. Have one of those leashes that is like a pulley system, not a pulley system. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they have the gentle leader and the
yes, not just a static amount, but it does have some give. So that is very helpful, so that if the dog goes after another dog to sniff them up, it's not going to jerk you to a really disastrous 3-foot interval that you are not expecting. That will allow you some leeway. Also, try and stay on level, even ground. If you want to hike with your dog, maybe go to a track. What is flatter than a track? Maybe don't go on areas that have curbs, that have hidden rocks and sticks where you're likely to fall. And then also build up endurance to walking with your dog, like you build up endurance for anything else. And then if you need to hang on to your to an assistive device, a crutch, a cane, a forearm crutch, or a support partner on your other hand. So you have the dog in your right hand and you are using some sort of support in your other hand. But I really encourage like a track environment if the track will allow animals to be there.
Awesome. Great feedback. Now, going back to one of our slides, we had a lot of cool different adaptive equipment on it. Stephanie, where would you recommend folks looking to buy different adaptive equipment, and specifically, where would you look for adaptive cooking tools?
Good question. So there are actually programs called, let me see if I can get the wording right. There are assistive technology clinics, and I'm not going to get the exact word out of my head right now, but they have lending libraries. You might be able to Google assistive technology clinic, lending library in my area. And a lot of those places will actually let you trial their adaptive equipment, which is really cool. And they'll even lend it to you for maybe a month or 2 weeks for you to try it out at your house and see if you like it. So that's awesome. Generally, as soon as something is adapted, it becomes a little more expensive. As soon as something medical is written on it, it gets a little more expensive, which is very frustrating, I know, for many people. I have found actually ordering online from Amazon or eBay, those tend to be where you're going to find them a little more cost effective. When you do go to medical supply stores, they tend to cost a little more. However, those medical supply stores online do tend to also have more options. So I would recommend just starting on the internet and typing in, like, what do you want to adapt? Is it, I want to adapt my stovetop? And just type in adapting stovetop. And I highly recommend looking into the spinal cord injury world. I know that's a whole different diagnosis, but they have some of the coolest adaptive equipment, and it's often labeled for spinal cord injuries. So it's a great way to look into that. Also, just reaching out to your local OT or PT, whoever you see, and ask them what devices what they have, going to sessions and trialing things and seeing what they recommend for where to purchase those items as well.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. And then this one I want to direct towards Sue. So talking about, and I guess Stephanie, you could answer this as well. So whoever wants to jump in, but talking about, single cane versus 2 walking sticks, what's the difference kind of between that when using that equipment?
Obviously, 2 is going to be more stabilizing than 1. Definitely get your OT and PT to chime in on this, especially for not only should you have 1, should they be loft strand crutches, which are the forearm, sometimes they're called Canadian crutches, the underarm crutches, a walker, a wheeled walker, or a single cane, and which side should the cane be used on. 2 devices are going to be more stable. Sometimes only 1 is necessary, or a person may not have enough strength on one side to be capable of using 2 assistive devices equally. And so at that point, 1 may definitely be better. If you're really, really weak on the entire right side, you may only be able to use something on the left side. So do get some professional input and make sure that it is measured properly. We see so many people with, their grandfather's cane or crutches that they had when they had an ACL repair when they were 18 and they're 48 now, and those crutches just are not cutting it.
Mm-hmm. And what's really interesting also, Krista, is in one of our programs, we did talk about how there's a significant increase in risk of falls when people select their own devices without a professional, because they can actually become more of a danger, like those rollator walkers. A lot of people are like, oh, I need a walker, and this one looks cool and has a seat, and they get it, and it flies right out from under them because they try to rely on it. So it's important, like Sue said, please reach out to your PT or OT before you select a device and spend all that money on it, because they're not cheap either. So make sure you get the right one.
Definitely. Let's see, I think we have time for another 1 or 2 here. I did have a handful of questions about foot drop. So how can I conquer my foot drop? What tips and tricks do you guys have with that?
As we have said a number of times throughout this evening's topics, the root cause of the problem must be identified. Is it weakness in the front calf muscles, the shin muscles? How weak are they? Can those muscles be strengthened, or are they just not able to be strengthened? Is it a contracture problem? Is it spasticity? You may be able to use a device called Bioness, BIONESS. That has to be fitted for you, trialed and fitted through your healthcare professionals. It can be extremely helpful. Getting the proper assistive device, we call them AFOs, ankle foot orthotics. Make sure that you have a proper fit for that if needed. They have all kind of titanium ones. They have a solid foot one. They have some that spiral. They have some with a hinge that help propel you if you're not able to do the carry through with the foot and lift the toes up. The proper assistive device can help you with that. So there can be many causes of the foot drop, many solutions, but they all have to be properly identified.
Copy. Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies. I appreciate you taking the time to answer some of our participant questions. I do want to remind everyone that, we hope that you stay connected with us, follow us on social media for the latest programs, resources, MS news, especially with us transitioning to a new year. We're going to have a bunch of new programs coming on the calendar for 2021. You can also register for our monthly e-news series by visiting cando-ms.org. I'd also like to highlight a few resources available from the National MS Society. They have a variety of brochures, video segments that you can access, and you can also call the MS Navigator at 1-800-344-4867. Our first few 2021 Jumpstart programs are now live on the website, actually as of yesterday morning. So those are all up there, the January and February Jumpstart programs. These include live online programs with group discussions and Q&A sessions, much like the one that we just had with MS experts. Register today and attend our most popular program from the safety of your home. We also just released some new content on our emotional resilience series. So we'd like to invite you to check that out. For each topic listed here, there's 5 webinars and then an associated toolkit as well. The toolkits include conversation starters, tips for proactive problem solving, and helpful resources. I know one of the questions tonight from our Q&A was, how can I talk to my loved ones more effectively? And this is a great resource for that. Those conversation starters are a great place to begin that journey. Additionally, we always have the opportunity for online learning and connection, and it's more important than ever in the MS community right now. Can Do On Demand offers advice from MS experts as they present topics on everything from cognition to exercise. You can access all of these on that website at the bottom there, cando-ms.org/on-demand. Now, lastly, I do want to mention, 2021 webinar series. Do make sure that you register for that. Your 2020 registration, the current registration, will not carry over. So you do need to re-register for the new 2021 series. And we hope that we get to see you in January. The January webinar will be on exercise and diet updates for people with MS. And I would like to know that we are changing the date. It is a Wednesday, January 6th. Typically, it's been on Tuesdays. Think like Stephanie gave you that advice. Webinar Wednesday. WW, Webinar Wednesday. So think about that. It's a good way to remember it. And don't forget, again, to register for the 2021 series. You can always reach out to us on the phone if you need help registering as well. And we hope to see you in January. But until then, stay safe, happy, and healthy, and enjoy your holiday season. Again, please stay on for one more second and you'll see a survey pop up on your screen. Make sure to take a moment and provide that feedback for the webinar tonight, but also the full 2020 series. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us, and have a very
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Steph and Sue. Great to see you guys as usual.